Hi, my name is Louise McGuan and I am the founder of J Corry Irish Whiskey. I want to welcome you all here today to the beautiful parish of Curryclare, nestled along the Wild Atlantic Way here in County Clare, and here to the McGuan family farm, the international headquarters of J Corry Irish Whiskey. Today we're going to take you on a little tour of the farm, so come with me. Welcome to the barn. This is where we taste all of our beautiful J Corry Irish Whiskey. This farm has been in the McGuan family as far back as records go. In fact, my grandmother was born here. And in 2015, after a long global career in the drinks industry, I decided to move back right here to the farm and set up an Irish whiskey company. I spent a lot of time investigating the history, both legal and illegal, of whiskey making around County Clare. There was quite a bit of it. And then eventually I discovered J Corry. My initial plan was to set up a grain to glass distillery until I discovered J Corry. J Corry was a whiskey bonder at 63 Henry Street, Kilrush, from the late 1890s until his death in 1932. I discovered his brand through a local antique dealer who was selling his labels. I went to see that antique dealer to inquire more about J Corry and who he was. And he told me that in 1983, J Corry's daughter Bridie had passed away. Their neighbours had purchased the shop next door, and he was tasked with emptying out the J Corry shop, which had remained completely untouched since the 1930s. And he discovered all of this really amazing paper ephemera from J Corry. He had receipts, he had labels, he had telegrams, he had all of this beautiful archival information about J Corry, who he was, what he did, and the kind of whiskey that he made. After I discovered J Corry, I needed to do a lot of research about the history of whiskey bonding because it wasn't something that I'd heard of in the context of Irish whiskey history before. So I spent a lot of time digging into parliamentary archives, both in the UK and in Ireland, because they obviously had a very close relationship at one time. And I discovered that whiskey bonding was once an integral part of the Irish whiskey industry. There was a time in Ireland where there were hundreds of distilleries all around the island, similar to Scotland. The entire whiskey industry, however, over a 50-year period, almost completely collapsed. This was due to war, to famine, to geopolitical circumstance. And we went from having hundreds of distilleries on the island in the late 1800s to having only 2 or 3 by the 1930s. This meant that whiskey bonding had completely died out. J Corry was one of the last of the whiskey bonders on the island. So I felt that instead of adding another beautiful grain to glass distillery to Irish whiskey, I would bring back the lost art of Irish whiskey bonding. J Corry is very much a family business, and a lot of my family are involved in the business. My dad, who still runs the farm here, helps out on bottling sometimes, and my cousin Caroline manages all of our experiences and guest experiences here on the farm.
Hi, my name is Caroline and we're standing right in the heart of our 17th century barn that we've transformed into our unique and special tasting room. Back in the day, around famine times, there would have been about 16 to 17 people living in a homestead like this. But they wouldn't have been living on their own here. They would have also shared it with the smaller animals that would have been on the farm. So this is our perfectly built rack house. It's dome-shaped, traditional style. It's also, the facade is made from the original stone that both Louise and my grandmother's house originally was made from. And when Louise renovated her house, that came from there. You'll see that the beautifully made doors are salvage seating from a local GAA pitch that were sourced and made on site here. Most of our racks are actually made from the same material and they fit perfectly in with our rack house. It's southern facing because this side has the 4 major windows high windows down along the side of it, which capture both the winter and the summer sun and are perfect for the maturing of our whiskey.
Welcome to our beautiful library of Irish whiskey flavours. This is very much where the heart and soul of whiskey bonding lives. Essentially, as whiskey bonders, it's our role to collect as many varieties of Irish whiskey flavours as we can from all over the country, to shepherd the whiskey from the moment it comes off of the still all the way through its maturation process, the blending process, and right into your glass. And that process starts right here in our beautiful rack house. Behind me here, you can see whiskey spirit maturing away, ranging in age from 0 years all the way up to 30 years old from multiple distilleries all across the island. This is the only Bonders blending room on the island of Ireland, and we purpose-built this facility so that we can precision blend our J Corry Irish whiskies. Back in the 1800s, it was very common for whiskey bonders to custom blend individual whiskey styles and types for individual consumers and customers. So for example, J Corry would probably have blended specific whiskies to desired recipes for the Vandeleur family and for the Vandeleur housekeeper, and this was very common all over the island of Ireland. We do exactly the same thing here today, except we do it on an international level. We built this facility because it gives us total autonomy and total control over every element of the blending process of our whiskies. Very often we'll blend anything from 22 to 36 cases of whiskies for individual customers all around the world. And this facility allows us to be incredibly detailed in every single aspect of that process and to totally control the process. Every single bottle of J Corry Irish whiskey is bottled right here on the farm. Bottling days happen a couple of times a month. We get the whole community involved. We've got cousins, we've got aunts, we've got uncles, and we're providing some much needed employment here to this rural area. But you can be rest assured that every single one of these bottles has been lovingly hand bottled by one of us. Thank you so much for joining us here today on the McGuan family farm.
And cheers, and enjoy your J Corry.